Alright, hello everyone. Welcome sa isa na namang lecture, this time under psychometrics. We are going to talk about the value of norms in psychometrics. Actually, gumawa na ako ng ganitong lecture from previous years. Ito mas updated. And also in this lecture, mahihit ko rin yung topics on measure of central tendency and frequency distribution. Okay? Pero if you want to watch the other lectures about this, pwede rin naman. But before we talk about this, let me just read God's word. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. And then we jump to Genesis 1:11. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. So these words from the book of Genesis, may kinalaman to sa topic of norm in psychometrics. Remember, understanding norm and your ability to use norms in psychological assessment is one of the skills na hinahanap ng PRC bago kayo bigyan ng license to be a psychometrician. Isa yan sa mga target outcomes. Ito dapat yung skill set na dapat meron ng isang tao para mabigyan ng license in psychometrics, to be a psychometrician. So it's very important that you really understand by heart how norms operate in the field of psychometrics. So I hope this lecture can help you achieve that. Okay? Now, as I always teach, isa sa mga teaching philosophy ko, before we understand something deeper, kailangan intindihin muna natin yung shallow level, hindi yung deep level agad. Okay, so intindihin muna natin yung ibig sabihin ng word na norm in the shallow level. The dictionary definition of norm is a situation or type of behavior that is expected and considered to be typical. So, dito hinango yung word na normal. The root word of the word normal is norm. In everyday language, normal means madalas, pangkaraniwan, majority, or halos lahat. So, yung word na norm, noun form, gawin mong adjective, yung noun magiging normal. So, when you use the word normal, ibig sabihin nun, yung thinking pattern, yung emotional patterns mo, o yung behavioral patterns mo, madalas ginagawa o madalas pinapakita ng mga taong normal. That's why it's good, no? When a certain pattern of thinking, emotions, or behavior fall within the normal. Like for example, ano ba yung mga bagay na madalas, pangkaraniwan, majority, or halos lahat ginagawa? Normal ang kumain. So you can attach that adjective normal sa verb na kumain. Kasi halos lahat naman talaga ng tao kumakain. We would not survive if we don't eat. Lahat ng tao natutulog, therefore normal ang matulog, normal ang mapagod, normal ang magalit, at higit sa lahat, lalong-lalo na sa larangan ng pag-ibig, normal ang masaktan. So don't feel bad about yourself kapag nasa romantic relationship ka tapos nasaktan ka, normal lang yan. Got that? Lahat ng tao na umiibig, given the fact that we are loving an imperfect being, nasasaktan. So, normal lang ang masaktan in the context of love and relationships. Got that? So, yun yung usage ng word na normal from the root word norm. Kaya kapag inattach mo yung prefix na abnormal, which means not, di ba yung AB, yung prefix na AB, it means not normal, ibig sabihin, hindi pangkaraniwan yung pattern mo. Whether that's thinking pattern, emotional pattern, or behavioral patterns, hindi yan normal. Kaya, ang DSM-5, kapag meron kang pattern na meron ka sa DSM-5, meron kang diagnosis sa DSM-5, most of the time, hindi tayo nagse-celebrate. I mean, hindi ka manlilibre, hindi ka magpapaparty simply because meron kang 5 diagnosis sa DSM-5. You need treatment. Why do we need treatment? Because again, hindi normal yung mga patterns mo na nakasulat sa DSM-5. So this is a book that contains all the processes or all the patterns in the human psyche that are considered not normal. Hindi dapat nandoon. Hindi dapat pinapakita ng tao pero pinapakita niya. So again, those people with certain diagnosis from the DSM-5, kailangan nila ng treatment and correction. Got that? So yun yung ibig sabihin ng word na norm or normal in our everyday language. The shallow level of the word norm. Now let's apply the word norm. Let's talk about the word norm in the field of psychometrics. I am using the version by Anastasi and Urbina. Ito ang definition ni Anastasi. Ano daw ang norm? Set of scores from the past performance of group of individuals to which the raw score from a psych test is compared to. So, important words are in red. Ang norm, unang-una, gawa siya sa set of scores. Hindi siya gawa sa kahoy, hindi siya gawa sa bakal, hindi siya gawa sa goma. Ang norm, binubuo ng set of scores. Saan nanggaling yung set of scores na yon? May mga tao in the past kumuha ng test na yon, inipon-ipon natin yung raw scores nila, yun yung naging norm natin ngayon. At bakit natin ginagawa yon? Because, starting right now, kapag nagbigay tayo ng psychological test and we get the raw score from that person who took that test, ang raw score na yon, ikukumpara natin doon sa norm na meron tayo. So to put that in a visual representation, it looks something like this, no? So merong isang test taker dito, kumuha siya ng isang standardized test, and then from there kinuha natin yung raw score. Yun yung tinatawag na psychological measurement. Ang raw score niya, let's say, hypothetical, 59/100. Ano ang next step? Ikukumpara natin yung raw score na yan doon sa norm ng test na yan. Kukunin natin yung manual of the test, pupunta tayo doon sa page where the norm table is in, and we will compare that raw score to that norm table. Ang tanong, bakit mahalaga na ikumpara mo pa yung raw score doon sa norm table ng isang psychological test? Ano ang point? Why do we even need to do that? Now, let me go to the Bible, God's Word, to help us understand what's the point of comparing a certain raw score to a norm. Okay? Kailangan natin ang tulong ni Noah, asawa ni Mrs. Noah. Yung gets nyo? Okay, so ito ang passage natin for that, yung binasa natin kanina. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. Meron ditong mga words of assessment. Meron tayong assessment about Noah. Ano raw si Noah? Righteous, blameless, and walk with God. Question is, paano nasabi ng writer ng Genesis that Noah was like this? Saan niya kinuha yung assessment niya of Noah being like this? Kasi merong norm during that time na ibang-iba si Noah sa norm na yon. Ano ba yung norm during that time? In Genesis 1:11, now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and the earth was filled with violence. That's the norm. Ang mga tao during this time, puro corrupt, mga violente. But Noah wasn't like that. He was far from the norm. Doon nanggaling yung assessment of Noah. Why is he considered righteous, blameless, and walk with God? Kasi compared to the norm, hindi siya corrupt, hindi siya violent. Got that? So I hope that simple illustration nagbigay ng clue sa inyo kung bakit kinakailangan ikumpara ang raw score sa isang norm. Pero mag-side comment lang ako ng konti dito ulit sa passage, no, specifically sa Genesis 1:11. I want to share an insight. Let me read again. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. Realize the idea here that popular or normal doesn't mean it's moral. Got that? In fact, because of this profile of people in Genesis 1:11, ito yung naging susi, ito yung naging catalyst kung bakit ang mundo nalunod dahil sa ulan. 'Di ba? God planned to wipe out all the people in the world except for Noah and his family. Tanong, bakit? What explains yung Great Flood? Bakit nagkaroon ng Great Flood? Kasi nga, ganito ang norm and it's not good. So I hope you get the point. Although this is the norm, although this is the popular behavior, being corrupt, being violent, it doesn't mean it's moral. Hindi porket uso, hindi porket quote-unquote normal yung certain set of behaviors, ibig sabihin tama yung behavior. Because many times in our society, and I have so many examples on this, I can go all day, marami mga behaviors, marami mga thinking patterns, marami mga emotional patterns, usong-uso, pero sa totoo lang, masama. And where can we see this norm of thinking, feelings, and behaviors that are evil? Social media. Don't get me wrong, I am not saying social media is evil, but social media is a place where we can see where evil thinking, evil emotions, evil behaviors are becoming normal. So ang lesson dito, huwag yung gagamiting basis ng moral compass ninyo kung ano ang norm. Don't let the norm dictate what's right and what's wrong. Because what's right and what's wrong has nothing to do with the norm. It has something to do with what is right and what is wrong. It is objective, set by God. Got that? Oh, again, let's go back to the question na sinasagot natin dito. What's the point of comparing the raw score to a norm? Noah already helped us with this. Meron pang isang tutulong sa atin, si Job. Oh, I hope you can get the answer to this question by talking about Job. Siguro naman kilala niyo si Job, yung gumawa ng iPhone, di ba? Si Steve Jobs. Of course, I'm joking. Let me read Job 1:8. And the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil? Nasaan ang assessment ni Lord kay Job? Ano yung assessment labels kay Job? Blameless, upright, fears God, turns away from evil. Saan nanggaling yung assessment na yan ni God about Job? Gumamit ng norm. Kasi in comparison to him, what was the norm during that time? Sabi nga dito, there is none like him on the earth. Meaning, ang norm during that time, yung kabaliktaran ng mga malalaking words dito. The norm was, people are what? Ano ba yung kabaliktaran ng blameless? Blameful? Right? Ano ang kabaliktaran ng upright? Down left. Of course, I'm joking, but you know what I mean, no? Siguro, wicked. That's the norm. Uso noon yung walang takot sa Diyos. Uso noon yung turning towards evil. Yun yung pangkaraniwan. But Job was different. He was the opposite of the norm. So God called him this assessment. Ano raw si Job? Blameless, upright, fears God, turns away from evil, because compared to the norm, Job wasn't like that. So let's go back to that question again. What's the point? Why do we need to compare the raw score to a set of norm? Ang sagot, given my illustration on Noah, given my illustration on Job, ang sagot is, we need to compare a raw score to a norm because that process will give the score meaning. Nagkakaroon ng kahulugan, nagkakaroon ng saysay ang isang raw score kapag kinumpara natin yung raw score na yon sa isang norm. One last analogy para mas maintindihan nyo bakit mahalaga na kinukumpara ang raw score sa isang norm. Imagine, ang Diyos gumawa ng mundo, and then sa mundo na yan, gumawa siya ng unang tao. At ang unang taong ginawa niya, ang height niya, 3 feet 7 inches. Take note, unang tao ito. Wala pang ibang tao, siya lang. Ang height niya, 3 feet 7 inches. Now, if I'm gonna ask you, ang 3 feet 7 inches ba, tall or short? Ang tamang sagot dyan, hindi natin alam. Because in this scenario, 3 feet 7 inches is just a number. Wala pa tayong karapatan para sabihin kung ang 3 feet 7 inches ba matangkad or hindi matangkad. Bakit? Wala kasing norm na pwede natin gamitin to give meaning to 3 feet 7 inches. So 3 feet 7 inches is just 3 feet 7 inches without any meaning. But if we change the situation, let's say, nung ginawa itong taong to, ang height niya 3 feet 7 inches. Pero may nauna na sa kanya na 28 million tao sa mundo. And when you average the height of these 28 million people, it is somewhere at 7 feet 2 inches. Yan yung average global height ng 28 million na tao. Now, the situation will change. Yung 3 feet 7 inches, kung ikukumpara mo sa average height ng norm, pwede mo na ngayon lagyan ng ibig sabihin na short yan. Or sa Tagalog, Ayoko na lang magsalita. Baka ano pang label ang masabi ko dito, mabash pa ako. No, but you know what I mean. Hindi katangkaran ang 3 feet 7 inches. How did we know? Because we are now able to compare this score, this number, to a norm. Got that? Norms give our raw scores meaning. The same thing with psychological tests. Every time we encounter a raw score, ang raw score na yan may tinatanong sa'yo bilang psychometrician, bilang psychologist, that score is begging you to interpret, to be interpreted, I mean. The raw score is begging you to be interpreted. Sa Tagalog, tinatanong ka ng raw score, ano ba ako sa'yo? And it is your responsibility as a professional to make sense, to interpret that raw score. Problem is, kung wala kang ang norm, yung test na ginamit mo, wala siyang norm table, that test is as good as useless. Bakit? Kasi makakuha ka nga ng raw score sa test niyan, pero kung walang norm, wala tayong meaning na pwedeng ilagay sa raw score. Kasi nga walang norm eh. Hindi natin malalaman kung okay ba yung 59/100. Kung may problema ba yung 59/100 because there is no norm to help us give meaning to 59/100. On the other hand, kapag yung test mo naman merong norm, nakalagay doon sa manual, nasa last page, nandoon ang norm table, now we can know anong ibig sabihin ng 59/100. Ibig sabihin ba niyan, excellent, above average, average, below average, you get what I mean. Nagigets nyo, no? So yan ang kahalagahan kung bakit may norm. Kumpara sa iba, that's the norm, anong tawag sa'yo? Anong label ang pwedeng ibigay sa'yo? Yan ang question na sinasagot ng norm. And I want to connect this to the book of Genesis because this is where we find the first norm. Yun na nga yung pinag-uusapan natin ngayon, norm, no? So, history tayo, saan nanggaling ang first norm? May ipapakita ko sa inyo from the book of Genesis. Trivia. Alam nyo ba nung ginagawa ni Lord yung mundo and the universe, from day 1 until day 5, ano ang assessment ng Diyos sa creation niya? It was good. Paulit-ulit yan. It was good, it was good, it was good. Until day 6, nagbago ang assessment ng Diyos from it was good, naging very good. Genesis 1:31. Question is, anong meron noong day 6 at nag-upgrade yung assessment ni Lord from good papuntang very good? Something happened in day 6. For those of you who read the Bible, for those of you who attend Sunday schools, you would know that day 6 was the day that human beings were created, specifically Adam and Eve. So, anong meron kay Adam and Eve na nung ginawa sila, tumaas ang quality ng creation? God compared Adam and Eve to the norm. Ano ba ang norm before Adam and Eve? Non-humans. Plants, animals, all the other physical elements on the earth. Yun ang norm. So, nung ginawa si Adam and Eve, and they were compared to the norm, something is so different kay Adam and Eve compared to the non-human norm, which was only Adam and Eve, only human beings were created in the image of God. Yun na yung Genesis 1:27. Something is so special, so unique among human beings compared to other physical creatures. We were created in the image of God, they were not. Now, it's a long lecture. I can go all day to explain what does it mean to be created in the image of God, pero wala tayong masyadong enough time for that. Pero at this point, mag-side comment lang ako ng konti, given that humans are created in the image of God. Ibang-iba tayo sa mga non-human beings here in this world. At tayo yung nagpaangat sa assessment ni Lord from good to very good. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Sana wag nating isipin na dati tayong hayop at wag tayong magpakahayop, 'di ba? I mean, yun yung implication nun eh. The way you should see yourself, unique ka from other living creatures. Hindi tayo hayop, hindi tayo dating hayop, wag tayong magpapakahayop. Sana naman wag ninyong pagbigyan yung idea na totoo na dati tayong hayop as evolution. The theory of evolution claims. Got that? That there is nothing special about being a human. Na yung standing natin sa physical order, pare-pareho lang lahat. Walang difference ang aso sa tao, walang difference ang unggoy sa tao. I mean, come on. Diba? We are so qualitatively different from the rest of the physical creation. Now, for those of you who would say, ayan na naman si sir, nagba-Bible study na naman, do you have any evidences to support na talagang ang tao uniquely different from the genetic composition of other physical creatures? Meron tayong data dyan. I highly recommend you read this book by Stephen Meyer entitled Signature in the Cell. In this book, in-explain niya, pinakita niya yung iba't ibang mga evidences to show that indeed, genetically speaking, in the genetic level, there is something so different from us compared to other non-human physical creatures that it's impossible. It's literally super duper duper impossible that a simple cell organism one day, billions of years, became more complex, naging animal, maya-maya, naging humans na. The impossibility of that framework as claimed by evolutionists, diniscussed in this book by Stephen Meyer, I highly recommend that you read. Alright? So, in comparison to the norm, to the non-physical norm, something is so different in us. Alright? Balik na tayo sa norm in the field of psychometrics. So again, ano ang purpose ng norm? Para mabigyan natin ng label, mabigyan natin ng pangalan kung anong ibig sabihin ng isang raw score. Like for example, in Wechsler, kapag buksan mo yung manual, there is a page in the Wechsler manual, papakita sa iyo yung norm of the test. So anyone who would be scoring in a certain score, yung ibig sabihin ng score na yun, depende kung nasaan siya dito sa range babagsak. Diba? So, kapag yung score mo, 130 and above, ito tawag sa'yo. Kapag ang score niya, 90 to 109, ito ang tawag sa'yo. Kapag ang score niya is 70 to 79, ito ang tawag sa'yo. Again, kung ikukumpara ang performance mo sa norm, ano ang tawag sa'yo? Norms give our raw scores meaning. And why is it important in psychometrics that our raw score should have a meaning? Para alam natin kung saan natin ilulugar. Para alam natin kung ano ang decision na pwede nating i-suggest sa mga clients natin. Which is in essence, dapat lahat ng suggestion natin sa mga clients natin, based on our assessment, ikauunlad, ikabubuti ng mga well-being nila. After all, that's what it means to be a psychometrician / a psychologist, to improve the mental well-being of people. So let me give you some examples. No, how can giving a meaning to a raw score lead to certain decisions? Halimbawa, 98 over 100 ang isang raw score coming from an intelligence test. And then, plinat natin anong ibig sabihin ng 98 over 100 using a norm. Ibig sabihin daw nung 98 over 100, genius itong batang to. Now that we know that this person is genius, ano ang decision na pwede natin gawin? Magandang basihan ito para bigyan siya ng scholarship. Now we know what to do with this person. Saan natin ilulugar yung taong yan? Bigyan ng scholarship. 85 over 100 ang raw score ng isang tao na kumuha ng Beck's Depression Inventory. And according to the norm, 85 over 100 means highly depressed. Saan natin ilulugar tong taong to? Ito ang isang taong nangangailangan ng counseling. May isang kumuha ng test, 93 over 100, from Child Autism Checklist. Ginamit natin yung norm to interpret 93 over 100. Ang sabi, ibig sabihin daw niyan, kailangan ng batang ito ng special education. Got that? Saan natin nakuha yung mga red boxes? Saan natin nakuha yung mga decisions na yan to help people have better psychological life? From our raw score having a meaning. And what made that possible? The norm. Kaya sana matutunan nyo itong lesson na to, no? Not only in psychometrics but also in our everyday life. Huwag tayong papayag to relate with other people na walang label. Amen? Mahirap makipagrelasyon sa isang tao na ayaw labelan kung anong klaseng relationship meron kayo. You will just end up hurting yourself. Dapat malinaw. 'Di ba? Kasi yung behavior mo sa relationship depende yan sa label ng relationship. You will be showing different sets of behaviors in a relationship depending on what kind of relationship you are in. Iba ang behavior mo sa taong yan kung girlfriend ka niya. Dapat iba kung classmate ka lang niya. Dapat iba rin kung best friend ka lang niya. The problem is, the reason why many young people today are confused in their relationships, usong-uso kasi yung walang label. So, all behaviors pwede mong gawin. Walang boundaries. Classmate mo, pero dinedate mo. Best friend mo daw siya, pero nagkikiss kayo. Magulo. So, tumataas yung mga expectations only to find out hindi pala dapat ini-expect. Nagkakaroon ng disappointment, nagkakaroon ng hurt feelings. So, wag kayong papayag, wag kayong papasok sa isang relationship na hindi defined ang label. Dapat may meaning yung relationship. Kung girlfriend, then act like a girlfriend. Kung classmate ka, then act like a classmate. Kung best friend ka, then act like a best friend. Hindi yung iniisip mo best friend ka, pero iniisip niya girlfriend ka niya. Magulo. Ano ba talaga ang label ng relationship na to? O, medyo naging relationship advice na, pero in the field of psychometrics, huwag papayag na walang label ang raw score. Kasi kapag ang raw score walang label, ano mangyayari? Wala tayong assessment. At kung walang assessment, wala tayong magiging silbi as psychology professionals. Hindi natin matutulungan yung mga tao to have a better psychological life. Kasi wala nga tayong assessment dahil walang label yung mga raw scores natin. Got that? So the second part of this lecture will now focus on how are norms constructed. Whenever you see this page in a test manual, usually sa left column, nandyan yung mga range of scores. Sa right column, ito yung mga ibig sabihin ng mga scores na yon. Ginagawa yan. Hindi yan basta habang piniprint ng authors yung test, biglang lumabas na lang yan. It's being constructed. And if you take a course on test construction, tinuturo yan as I am teaching this subject in the current term. So I'm teaching my students different ways on how to construct norms. No? But anyway, this lecture will also partially hit on that. There are 5 ways on how to construct norms. Measure of central tendency. Number 2, frequency distribution. So yung numbers 3, 4, and 5, hindi ko madidiscuss in this lecture. Abangan nyo na lang yung mga future uploads ko dyan. But let me demonstrate paano ginagamit yung numbers 1 and 2 in helping us interpret raw scores. Unahin natin yung measure of central tendency. Imagine, meron tayong hypothetical IQ test na merong 100 items na kinuha ng 40 katao. And then, we collected all the scores of that 40 people. Ito yung scores nila. Now, ang tanong ngayon, given these raw scores, paano natin malalaman alin sa mga scores na yan ang pumasa, alin dyan bumagsak? Fair question. Being a psychometrician. Now, you do this exercise, I will read a raw score and you tell me whether pass or fail. Sabihin mo lang dyan kung nasan ka man, pass or fail. You know, when I read a score. Ready? Pumasa ba ang 50? Go. How about 68? How about 38? How about 42? How about 28? How about 60? Ang tamang sagot sa mga tinanong ko, hindi ka dapat sasagot. Actually, ang tamang sagot is, at this point, hindi pa natin kayang i-interpret kung pumasa ba o bumagsak ang isang raw score kasi hindi pa natin ginagamitan ng norm. So, these numbers at this point are just numbers. They are meaningless. Dito na ngayon papasok yung norm construction. Paano natin mai-interpret yung mga scores na yan? Malalaman natin kung sino pasado at sino bagsak by using a certain norm technique. Doon na ngayon papasok yung measure of central tendency. You already know this, the big 3, mean, median, and mode. Hindi naman ito psychological statistics, so reviewin nyo na lang kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng tatlong yan. But very quickly, let me demonstrate how measure of central tendency can give meaning to raw scores. No? Gamitin natin yung mean. Another term for mean is average. So you add up all the scores divided by the number of cases, which is 40. Kinumpute ko na, ang average ng set of scores na to is 53. Ano ngayon ang magiging silbi ng 53 as the average? Ito ngayon yung pwede mong gamiting cut-off score para malaman mo, para ma-interpret mo kung ang raw score ba pasado o bagsak. So, ibig sabihin, 53 and above, pass, 52 below, fail. Let's do the same exercise. Let me read to you a raw score and then use this to determine kung yung raw score ba na yun, pasado or bagsak. 38, 48, 66, 62, 42, 65. You get what I mean? Now, you can easily interpret whether a raw score is pass or fail because you already have a norming technique that you used. Specifically, measure of central tendency, you got the mean. Yung median, ganun din. 'Di ba? Alam niyo naman yung sistema ng median, i-organize mo yung score from highest to lowest and then get the midpoint. Ano yung gitna ng distribution? That will be the median. In this case, it's gonna be 54. So ano ngayon ang silbi ng 54? The same thing. Yan ngayon yung magiging cut-off mo of pass-fail. 54 above, pass. 53 below, fail. Yung mode, ganun din. The most frequent score in the distribution. In this case, may dalawa tayong mode, 56 and 42. E paano yan kung dalawa ang mode, no? Two options. Kunin mo yung average ng dalawang modes, 56 plus 42 divided by 2, or you can just choose one from the two. If you want to have a higher standard of passing, pick 56. If you want to have a lower standard of passing, pick 42. Yun ang silbi ng mean, median, and mode in helping us interpret the meaning of the scores. Although it's very useful, meron pa ring disadvantage of measure of central tendency. If you notice, yung label na binibigay natin sa mga raw scores, napaka-limited lang. It's very general. Napakababa ng variation o variety of labels that we can assign to the scores. Like in my previous example, ano lang yung label na nagagamit natin? Pass or fail lang. That's it. Lahat ng score na makukuha mo, it's either pass yan or fail. But in real life, we need more than just pass or fail. We need more specific labels to use and interpret certain scores. 'Di ba? Halimbawa, let me give you a scenario. Ginamit natin yung sistema ng median. And according to the computation, the median of a testing population is 50. So yan ngayon yung cut-off mo ng pass-fail. 50 above, pass. 49 below, fail. Now, we have two students here who took the test. The first student, student A, got a raw score of 99, while student B got a score of 50. Now, you interpret using median. Ano ang interpretation ng 99 given this marker? Ang sagot, passed. So, a student who got a test almost perfectly, ang tawag mo sa kanya, pass. Ang student B naman na ang score niya 50, anong tawag mo sa kanya? Pass din. But that would be unfair, especially if you are student A. Because there is a difference between someone who almost got the test perfect and someone who almost failed the test. Pasang-awa, sumabit lang. At ang unfair naman kung walang distinction between the two, parehong pass ang tawag mo sa kanila. 'Di ba? Mas maganda sana kung meron man lang konting distinction between someone who almost got the test perfect and someone who almost failed the test. So ideally sana, ito yung mangyari. Ang tawag mo kay student A, excellent. Ang tawag mo kay student B, fair. That's better. Now, that's fair. Got that? Excellent si student A. Fair lang si student B, although pareho silang pasado. So may dalawang variants ng pass. Isang excellent, isang fair. Problem is, hindi kayang gawin yan ng measure of central tendency because the best it could do is to divide the score distribution into two areas. Pass, fail, high, low, in, out. Good, not good. Yun yung limit ng measure of central tendency. So if you want to have more variety of labels that you can use in interpreting raw scores, maganda gamitan mo yan ng frequency distribution. Diba? Now, ang frequency distribution, syempre, kailangan mo ng raw scores dyan and you need a software to run this. Actually, swerte nga yung mga student ngayon because during my time, we do frequency distribution manually. Anong itsura ng frequency distribution? Let's say this is a set of scores, lagyan mo ng frequency distribution yan, or gawan mo ng frequency distribution, I mean, it looks something like this. Ayan. So, yung mga medyo mahilig sa statistics, you would know kung anong itsura ng frequency distribution. Yan yon. So, sa left column, ito yung mga class intervals, range of scores, range of possible scores, and then sa kanan, ito yung frequency. Ilang beses nag-occur yung isang score within this range. So kapag in-add up mo yan, when you do this manually, no, when you add up these numbers, it should equal the total number of scores. So you can only imagine if you do this manually, the horror that you will feel kapag in-add mo yan, kulang sa number Or, yung iba pa nga, sobra sa number. Ibig sabihin may nadoble kang bilang. If you do this manually, ulitin mo ulit yung count mo. From the bottom ulit. Thank goodness, I think this is God's gift to human beings, may gumawa ng Jamovi. That this frequency distribution can be generated in seconds. Got that? But during my time, kailangan may dala kaming graphing paper para gawin ito manually. Okay? So ano ngayon ang magiging silbi ng frequency distribution in score interpretation? Mas marami ka ng variants of labels that you can assign to different raw scores as you can see here on the slide. O, di ba? So, merong mga scores ang tawag superior, may mga scores ang tawag above average, may mga scores average, merong low average, merong very low average. Hindi ka lang basta-basta pass or fail. Got that? So, mas marami ka ng distinction of different scores. Pero, it's not as easy as you think it is, no? In doing frequency distribution, bago mo magawa yan, dapat sisiguraduhin mo na yung scores that you have, your obtained raw scores, when you plot these scores in a curve, it has to assume the shape of a normal curve. Yan, ibig sabihin, itong mga raw scores na to, kapag niran mo to sa isang software, dapat more or less, ang shape ng scores na yan, in the norm, more or less, or in the curve, I mean, more or less must be perfect curve. Normally distributed. Yon. So, kapag napatunayan mo na ganyan, yung distribution ng scores mo, that's the only time that you can now use this as the norm to which you are going to interpret certain raw scores. Kaya lang, in real life, let's be realistic here, hindi kasi lagi na yung mga raw scores na makukuha mo will be perfectly distributed. Hindi lahat ng curve, normal curve. May mga chances na yung scores mo na kinuha from your participants, tapos yun yung gagamitin mo sa paggawa ng norm, may pagkakataon na skewed to the right. May mga chances naman na yung curve mo is skewed to the left. In both cases, ibig sabihin yan, hindi mo pwedeng gamitin ito to interpret future raw scores. So ano ang solusyon dyan? Kung ang data mo, kung ang scores mo skewed to the left, or skewed to the right, or skewed to the left, magdagdag ka pa ng mga participants hanggang ma-achieve mo yung more or less normal shape of the frequency distribution. Got that? Tanong, halimbawa sir, meron na kaming set of scores. Nag-pilot testing na kami and we already collected the scores. How would we know if our scores more or less represent the normal distribution in a curve? Meron tayong ginagamit na test of normality in statistical softwares. Isa sa mga popular na test of normality would be the Shapiro-Wilk. Yan ang pinaka-function ng Shapiro-Wilk. No, sasabihin niya sa'yo kung ipa-plot mo yung scores mo in the curve, ganito ba more or less yung shape ng scores mo. Kaya nga ang tinitignan dito, no, if you zoom this in, yung last column, yung may SIG. This is one of the few times in statistics you would not like to see a significant result. Gusto mo ito hindi significant. Gusto mo ito greater than 0.05. Bakit? Kapag ito hindi significant, ibig sabihin yan, yung set of scores mo, let's say ito, when you plot it in a curve, ang itsura, it is not significantly different from a normal distribution, which is good news. Ibig sabihin, you can now proceed to do this and use this as basis to interpret future raw scores. But the moment na nakita mo yung SIG mo, in this case, less than 0.05, what does that mean? Ibig sabihin, yung set of scores mo, again, example, ito, it is significantly different. Ibang-iba ang itsura kumpara sa isang normally distributed scores. So, hindi ka pwedeng mag-proceed at gawin ito as basis to which you interpret future raw scores. Maliwanag. So, again, let me repeat, ano ang advantage ng frequency distribution? Mas nagiging specific ka sa labels na kaya mong ibigay sa iba't ibang raw scores. Hindi lang basta-basta pass, fail, high, low, good or not good. Now, you have varieties of interpretation. Anong klaseng pass ang meron ka? O anong klaseng pass yung score mo? Superior pass, above average pass, or average pass? Anong klaseng fail yung raw score mo? Low average ba yan? Or very low average? Mas varied na. Mas marami ng variant yung interpretation of the raw score. Yan ang frequency distribution. Alright? So that ends my short lecture on the value of norms at paano ginagamit ang measure of central tendency and frequency distribution sa pag-interpret ng mga test scores. If you have any other questions, comments, ilagay nyo lang dyan sa comment section. Babasahin natin yan. Sana nakatulong tong lecture video na to. Sir Howard here. Until the next lecture, God bless. Bye-bye.